I'm going to demonstrate the new Graff Termit blade. Graff is a company out of Belarus. A couple years ago they sent me their speed cutter. It's a carbide tooth, very good quality carbide. It's in 2 years of constant use. I've only had to sharpen it once. They sent me their next tool, a couple Graff Termits, and that is a carbide infused rim of a good blade material. So I've dabbled with it a little bit, and I chose this sculpture here to demonstrate it next because I know that my cutting of deep grooves in here are going to really make good use out of this tool. So this is Australian Red River gum burl, and it's pretty hard wood. It's got a decent hardness to it. One thing that makes it real tricky though are all these voids. There's like a encased bark, a lot of odd growths and stuff in there, and more of it reveals it's totally thoroughly porous. So sharp tools are essential. Abrasives are essential. I've profiled this side of it using a little chainsaw, an angle grinder with a Norton 36 grit abrasive disc. Now I've sketched my form, and I'm going to begin making cuts with the speed cutter, and then finished with the Graff speed cutter. Now, I'm going to use this guy, the Termit. Alright, there's my use of the Termit blade. I like that it only has the grit upon the very outer rim, and that I find useful because the body of the disc, this flat area, which is not abrasive whatsoever, can actually rest upon the workpiece, and I can use it as a guide to slowly tip my angle and creep into the cut delicately, and then like leaning back on your heel, get back out of it. And that's why this black paint is rubbed off here, is because I actually found I had great control in the groove by using that. Anyway, all right, so there, I'm not going for a lot of symmetry here because I want this to look a bit like a flower, and flowers aren't perfectly symmetrical. Very few things in nature are, but that's what makes them look alive. Well, those things are alive. It makes it look alive when it's not all too perfect. So, having sculpted all that, now I've just drawn these lines with a pencil, and I'll be cutting one of my daily used carving tools from Arbortech. The newest, this is called their mini grinder. I used to have one of their old units. The new one has a speed control on it. This is the 2-inch carbide 2 teeth. I've gone through, I don't know, 3 of them over the last 12 years. Yeah, whatever. That's how I'm going to cut that in, because this is just a little too big to roll that radius. It'll get caught right there. Anyway. Really? At this point, I've got some really nice, smooth lines developing here. Now it's time to power sand. I use Proxxon's long neck angle grinder, and this is a improvement upon it. King Arthur's Tools sells this. It's worth whatever you pay for it. Great tool. Anyway, this is 150 grit on a little homemade sanding arbor. I do not use the tools. I've talked to you guys about this. I do not use the tools that they offer. I spin off that little top hat that goes over this and just use that 4mm screw there, or threaded hole. That's an old Arbor Tech arbor. Well, backing pad, flex pad, whatever you want to call it. And this foam here, it's basically like, what do you call it? Kneeling pad foam for gardening or whatever, working on stuff. So then I just, cut my Norton 150 grit. I run that at really low RPM. I don't know if you can tell, but that line just got nice and sharp, really gradual, very precise. It'll be refined even further when I'm sanding it by hand. So that's entirely created using handheld angle grinders, just 2 grinders. And here it is after sanding. Sanded to 1000 grit. Entirely sanded with this piece of wood, a little piece of foam, and I glue paper to it. I create a series of these Australian Red River gum burrow sculptures, and this is not the exact one that I just showed you being made. That one was finished and on an airplane, and the next day I was at an art show in Florida, and it sold immediately before I could even get photographs of it. It was a little bit larger than this one, so this was the next one I made, a little bit smaller. The bases on these are solid steel. I create that by welding and fabricating and machining, and then I drill and tap the back side of it to support the burl, and it's been primed with automotive primer and automotive paint, and so here it is. The wood finish used is Minwax wipe-on polyurethane.